then realized that there's more to reveal, that maybe something is missing. Welcome to Shades of Spirit Radio with me, Psychic Medium Jaime. Join me as I connect you to all shades of spirit during this live call-in show. I'm a medium, Reiki Master, spiritual connector, and paranormal investigator. I provide a safe space for people to turn when they are scared and in a non-judgmental heart. I'm going to help you, the listeners, identify ways you can connect by supplying the spiritual tools you can use in your everyday life when connecting with spirit. We reach everyone and exclude no one. Are you ready to connect with spirit? This show is leaving nothing off limits. Shades of Spirit starts now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shades of Spirit. I am Psychic Medium Reiki Master Jaime. Joining with me today is the fabulous LaShawn, the Luminous Mystic. LaShawn, say hello.
Hi.
And everyone, we also have our special guest, Bella, who now is ready to take a nap, but she has decided to join us for our show, because otherwise she screams in the pen that she lives in the room and then tries to scale out of it with her dagger claws. So that's always a good time.
In your 20s, you can make it in your 30s.
LaShawn, you should know by now. We should just know by now that we cannot play like that. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
And we work the paranormal equipment, so that's always a good time, which doesn't always work half the time for us either. So today, you guys, I have got an unscripted show. So who knows where that's going to take us. We've been actually doing these now, like for the past 3 weeks, we jump on once a week. And we've got one general idea, and then all hell breaks loose by the end. So if you guys really want some good entertainment, I would definitely go back to Shades of Spirit LLC on Facebook and watch some of our lives that we had been doing. And there's times where I hadn't laughed that hard in years when we just get ourselves on a roll. That is for sure. And that's where it kind of came up, where people were asking, how did you guys meet? Where did this connection come from? Why do you guys work so well together? Just our energy and our vibration. People have been asking us that for a long time. How come this works so well for you guys? And in this industry, if you will, LaShawn has been, besides Spirit Walker Nicole, she's the behind the scenes, counterpart here, but the longest working relationship in this particular field, because this field is very hard to be able to connect with people and identify with people and have the same goals in what you want to achieve. And the mindset is extremely difficult sometimes to match, because you want to be in one place and then you're going to be working with someone else who's in it for either the financial aspect of it, or they want to financially grow and they, push themselves and they want to become famous and they want to, so that becomes difficult because the ego's in the way. And then you have others that believe that their gifts are this supreme power, if you will. And that's not the case, because we all have these gifts. We all just have kind of a specialty that we really work well with, but no one is better than anyone else. So when the ego gets in the way, I step out, because when the ego gets in the way, that's when spirit steps out. And then you have just the people that don't treat spirit as the human that spirit once was. And that's why LaShawn and I have really decided to just throw caution to the wind, you guys. Get our hair in the wind, driving the four wheels on our adventure called Paranormal Road Trip. So LaShawn and I are starting our own little side business, not little, our ginormous, prosperous, being able to help others in a space of love and light, glorious endeavor called Paranormal Road Trip. So you guys will actually be able to find us on all different social media platforms. I'm putting together a web page. We're going to be doing YouTube videos where we're, talking about investigations as we're in the car driving to each location. We're going to give you history of it. We're going to give you background. We're going to give you live feed from the investigation sites and the connections that we make with the people and their stories. But it's just two gals. What do you call us? Chickadees?
Yes, chickadees.
two chickadees in the road going out to find some paranormal adventure. And no, not like the show, paranormal adventure. And I say adventure because this is an adventure. Anytime we go and we do paranormal investigations, we work with spirit. We just did a double medium, as I call it, or a double intuitive reading last weekend. So we had a fantastic group where they actually got a reading from myself and LaShawn. And in that time, what we really love doing with that is they get two different perspectives, two different ideas of what is coming into their energy space for their highest and best, whether it be through a loved one, whether it be through oracle cards or tarot cards. We get out all of our tools, and literally we got out all the tools. We even got out a paranormal equipment piece just to put it out there to see if we would get anything as we were doing the circle. But you're getting two readings of different calibers and perspectives, and they blend so effortlessly. And we will say the same thing, and a lot of them it's just we say it differently. And sometimes that's what you need, is that second approach, or that second aha moment to be like, now I'm getting it. Or you just realize your spirit team is yelling at you because now you've been told multiple times by people in one sitting that you need to be doing XYZ, which happens as well, where people's aha moments like, oh, so I've already been getting that feeling anyway.
Yeah.
But they wanted to know, where did this relationship come from? How did we end up connecting and working together? And then I wanted to know, how did it start? Like, that's a big part for us. Like, how did this adventure start? Meaning our own personal adventure, right? And then we came together and became the Spiritual Avengers. Yep, we're going to have uniforms that LaShawn's going to make for us. Maybe some just crystals. Yep, crystals that have the, so I think we are just really on to something, you guys. The chickadees and their adventures outfits. I know I didn't have anybody to hang with you right now, huh? You're going to eat the microphone. Sorry, guys, I'm just a little distracted. She's like my calming thing right now. But no, like, how did we even get to know that we had gifts, and what were obstacles in that road, which we both have the obstacles of being dismissed by family. And LaShawn's got a tough story behind that as well, of, they took it to the extreme. Correct me if I'm wrong on, no, that is not going to happen. So we want to start out the show talking about, where did it come from? When did you know? So for you, LaShawn, think back, it was only yesterday. You're still 25. We're still just 25. This should be just easy to recall. But at what age did you know that something was going on around you that wasn't able to be explained, and that wasn't what your parents were dismissing it to be, something else?
Yeah. Well, it started really early for me, first off. But the caveat to all of that, no matter what, up until I would say probably my 30s, was I didn't know that that this was a real thing, meaning that I can see spirit, hear spirit. As y'all can tell, I'm Black.
No, you do not say. I had no idea. I had no idea.
But the thing about it is, in my culture then, being raised in a Christian home, because my father was a pastor and still is, it's not something that was ever talked about. We didn't have the shows that we have now that would even remotely educate us to be like, oh my God, I see those things too. Now I know it's not just me, or this is what this means. I didn't have any of that growing up. And so honestly, I thought I was literally crazy. I really, really did. My family thought that, I didn't have all my thingies together.
Did not have all the faculties together.
It's true.
Did they take you to the doctor, or did they take you to a therapist? Yeah, okay.
That's exactly what I was about to talk about. I sure did. I ended up going to therapists. I ended up being put into a hospital because I tried to commit suicide. When you're going through these type of things, you just and not know what it is. It affects your entire life. It affected my entire life. I'll speak from my standpoint. It affected my entire life because Who am I talking to? What am I seeing? Why am I seeing these things? How come nobody else is reacting to these things the way that I am? Which is amazing. I say that in amazing now because, when I decided to talk to my family about it after being educated and finding out what my gifts were, and that I was not crazy, they were not crazy, or wrong for even thinking that I was, if you will, and I can explain that as well, because what happened was when I was going through this process of coming out, if you will, my auntie, the first thing she said was, "It all makes sense now." And I'm just like, what are you talking about? She's like, you would talk to something that we couldn't see. She said we find you kind of isolated and things like that, so that was the cool part about it. Was I had some kind of confirmation from other family members that something was going on. They saw it, didn't know what it was, and also thought that I had lost it, But then on the flip side of that, when I came out, I had a family member tell me I was a witch. I was the devil. I got pressured with Bible scriptures. It was a whole lot and I just let them take it out, say what you need to say, do what you need to do. And at the end of that conversation, as I was bawling, okay, I didn't let them know that, but my thing was, we're still family. I love you, and I'm still the same person that you looked up to and admire. Nothing has changed. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind. But yeah, I was put into a hospital, the whole shebang. I don't know.
And that it takes such a defeating feeling. It gives a defeating feeling to us because for me, it was, why are there people lined up at the foot of my bed? Why are they staring at me? At age 5, you don't understand this. You live in a constant sense of fear and doing everything and anything that you could to not go to sleep or to try and prolong bedtime. And then to wake up in the middle of the night and have those things happening or things moving or you heard something. And then to say that to your parents or to, as a kid, go to your parents' room and I had a bad dream or there's somebody in my room, and then just being dismissed. Yeah, it was probably that scary show that you watched the other day. Okay, well, my mom, it wasn't like she was letting me watch Chucky as I was a child, but it was just, and then as I became a preteen, you want to kind of watch the Alien, it's kind of scary and new. And so they would constantly be demeaning my feelings and not seeing what it was that I was seeing. But I don't fault them. I give them a hard time. I give them a hard time now because I'm like, but how would they know if they didn't go through that themselves and if they could see it? Now, I do give my dad a little bit more of a pushback and a hard time now in my 40s because he actually told me when I was 40 that both my great grandmothers were psychics, and then described the lady that I was seeing in their house when we were moving and had to bunk there for a few weeks. And it was like it was nothing. Oh, she just has been here since the house was built. No, she wasn't. She's your spirit guide. And what the hell, right? And that was tough. But at the same time, my dad had and still has PTSD from the war. And so how would we ever be able to decipher what he was going through in that dream state? Because he would wake up in those dreams and we hear that. So it was one of those things to where if I would have, it's one of those, like, if I would have known, right? If I would have known and I would have been supported, where would we be now with our gifts? And at the same time, we had to go through this and learn it in this capacity in order for us to understand it and then to make sure that it doesn't happen to our children and grandchildren, that we can protect them by empowering them in their space, and we can protect them not because we've got some sort of spirit shield and we're standing outside of their bedrooms, but we can give them the tools to be empowered to tell spirit when they can stay and when they can go, that they can use different modalities like crystals, all these different things that we have that can help amplify the energy in that space, and that we can hear them. And that's so important when it comes down to kids, is when we can't be heard, and we're living in a state of fear, it becomes overwhelming, and it starts to trigger the depression and feeling like you're alone and the anxiety at a young age, which is why we both really love working with kids
Children,
and
yeah.
being able to share our experiences with their parents and yet give them the tools for them to be empowered in that space to be able to take back their own space and their own energy, and sometimes help out a family member at the same time. Somebody else is having a bad day, they can go in and say, out of here, spirit, you're not welcome here, or call in your archangels and your family members. But it's a tough road when we aren't seen for who we are. And going back to a Black female living under a pasture's roof or pasture's rules, that's like a very interesting combo, though, because when we are places and you're at your crystal table, and I just used you again as my sociology paper because this is exactly what I was putting in it. How society looks at you, knowing that you're there, you've got your own business, you're selling these products. Sometimes Vicky's sitting next to you, sometimes she's shopping, sometimes she sits back next to you. They almost look at Vicky as if she runs that booth and that you're there to help, until you start speaking and you start telling them your story and you start talking about the crystals and the knowledge that you have behind that, and you bring folks in. But this isn't an easy road for a Black woman because of the labels that they automatically feel they know. Now, is that more cultural? Is that something that they've grown up with, like the witch part of it, or oh, you must practice voodoo? Or is it just the fear aspect of it? Like, speak on that, because I think that we would have, you're going to be able to empower more people, more kids, more women of color as well, that have these amazing gifts, and yet very similar situations as you, where you really had to suppress it and then hide it and then try and turn it off, and your power was taken away until you got into your 30s. So what kind of advice do you have for people? What is like a main experience that sticks out where this has not been an easy road, and where you really felt defeated in this process? And what did you do to overcome that?
Okay, so honestly, can we take this back to the very beginning real quick? Just for the simple fact, because I feel like that plays an extremely important part as to how all this came about, and where my empowerment came in. And yes, so far as being at the booth, I am looked as the help, or I'm just there. That has been proven. But let's go through something real quick first, okay? Because it really started before I even got here, meaning got here on the face of this earth. For those who don't know, we'll go through this very, very quickly. And I'm always open to questions and talking about it and stuff. But what happened was, my mom was a very young girl. When I say young, she was like 14, 15 years old when she had me. Okay, but prior to that, being pregnant with me, she actually tried to abort me, not once, but twice. Both of the abortions failed. Okay. And they thought that once it failed that second time, that, I was not going to be of sound mind. I was going to be missing limbs, all these other things. Now, before anybody come and attack my mom, please understand, she was doing what she was told to do by her mother. You understand? We're talking a 14-year-old girl. Okay. So I do not fault her at all. But there was a chain of events that had taken place. Okay. One, and I'm fast forwarding all of this. Okay. So I ended up having an emotional release one week. The second week, I was gifted a Reiki session, which was amazing. A lot came out in that Reiki session I had no idea about, to the point where I shut down for an entire week and didn't talk to anybody. When I finally decided to talk, the next week, so we're talking 3 weeks in a row, I ended up having an experience when I went to bed, to the point where I felt like I was being pulled from my body, from the inside out, through my feet. Okay. Now, mind you, at this point, I knew nothing about my situation of being aborted or any of that. But I was honestly, I was a little scared because once again, I had not stepped into these gifts fully yet to understand them. And so I shut it up, shut it down. Long story short, my sister called me um, at a time that she normally wouldn't. I didn't hear it though, but I time marked everything, just FYI. I called her the next morning. The first thing I said was she had activity in her home. Okay. So she did have activity in her home. The exact same time I was going through my experience, my out of body experiences, if you will. The following day, which was Wednesday, I had not talked to my mom about my experience. My sister did not talk about her experience. We talked to my mom. Her and my mom had a conversation. They were I wasn't on the phone at this point. They ended up calling me, and what she said was, "Mom has something to tell you." She swore that she was going to go to her grave with this, is what happened. Now, to have them both on the phone was not abnormal. Okay, so I'm like, okay, what? And so that's when she told me that, I tried to abort you not once or twice. She went through all that. Of course, I cried, and I thanked her for letting me know this information, and that she should not feel any shame about it. And she shouldn't be upset or hurt or feel any guilt about it. But what that did was, I feel when she explained to me what had taken place, that I feel like it opened my gifts to a whole new level, because this was a piece of a puzzle that I was not privy to, but yet it made all the sense in the world. Because as I was growing up, I always felt that I did not belong. I felt like I did not belong to this family, like they didn't like me. I didn't feel like, I've always had problems with people, emotionally, if you will, and so forth. So this was what that did, was confirm to me that the feelings that I have been feeling for over 40 years was valid. And I told her, I said, Mom, I believe that you love me, but I felt like you didn't like me because I wasn't supposed to be here. So going through all of that, getting the education, meeting you guys, or meeting you, it took it and it changed all that around. So standing in my power, I believe, started when she got that off of her chest. Confession, if you want to call it, whatever it is that you want to call it. And there's a lot more to this story, you guys. We did this story before, so go to Shades of Spirit on YouTube, and you can listen to the whole thing. But I feel that that's when my empowerment also started to happen, because now I had a reason as to why I was going through life feeling like, what is wrong with me? Why do people react to me this way? Or why I reacted to certain people, because either I liked you or I didn't, or you were proving yourself to me and not even knowing that you were doing so. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it was crazy. I just felt like that moment put everything into high gear. Not to say that it wouldn't have happened anyway. I just feel that process would have been a little bit slower, because for one, I didn't know what my purpose in life was either.
I was going to say, you can honor that purpose now. It's very much like when you cross over on the other side and come back.
Right.
It's very similar in that standpoint. And like I said to you the other day, I had a client a couple weeks ago who had a very similar story to yours. And that's only the second story that I've heard. And when you can tell these stories, and when we have these people who have had these stories and now can honor their purpose, and they can start feeling like they belong, and they realize that they are supposed to be here.
Yes.
And that most of you are connected into a very high vibration off the get, because you proved to spirit multiple times, my ass is going to be sitting here on earth. I got stuff to do, right? I got stuff to do. But you can now connect into that spiritual sense of self. and understand a bit about those struggles growing up. And what I love is that when we can reflect on why this family, right? You can look back and be like, why this family? Why did I have to go through life with, a mom who was going to abort me? And again, no, there is no fault on her end, being a young mother and following the word of her own mother, your grandmother.
Yep.
And her grandmother is probably doing it for your mom, right? Quality of life and that type of thing, and look to your future. But then growing up with the very religious side, like, have you ever looked back and been like, why did I pick these people? Right? I do sometimes. I'm like, what the hell? But you know why? Because all of those lessons that you have taken from them and that DNA part, and all those lessons that you have taken away from the religious side, and how you have such a deep connection to the angelic realm, to God, to Jesus, and how you bring that into your work and into your healings, right? You have compassion, and you have faith, and you have given your mom that opportunity of being able to get that off of her chest. And then realize that she was always worthy of your love, even at the day of conception. She was worthy of that love, and to have her start taking that in, and for you to have, a bit of that sense of not being wanted. And overcoming that, and then being able to help kids and adults alike who have struggled with that. We've got quite a few clients who struggle with their identity and who they are in life and where they're supposed to be going. And you've gone through every single one of these experiences in order to be able to teach and help heal the masses, if you will. And that goes for all of us as energy workers and healers that are doing it from that space of love and light and being able to do that connection. LaShawn, tell everyone how they can get a hold of you. We got to go to break, and then we'll pick up from where we're at right here. If you guys are interested in connecting, if you can relate to LaShawn's story and want to talk more, right? Want to pick her brain, that she is all about that. And let me tell you, she's got the gift of gab. You could be on the phone for hours. But tell them ways that they can get a hold of you in order to either make that appointment and have that session, or just to talk for a few minutes and just to have somebody hear them.
So you can reach me at Luminous Path With Love on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So it's the same all the way across the board, Luminous Path With Love, or you can reach me at the Luminous Path With Love at gmail.com is where you can find me. So
perfect. Plus then all of her gorgeous bracelets and her, just go to her website and see all of the cool things that she has created and has made this nice little enterprise for herself after these experiences have taken her here. So we are going to come back. We're going to talk about more of our experiences, more of what we've learned. We're going to talk about Wrightwood, our mystical weekend in the woods. We're going to talk about our paranormal group that we started, us. But anyway, you guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will see you guys right after these messages. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Shades of Spirit here on Transformation Talk Radio. You can get more of these episodes on transformationtalkradio.com, or you can go to my website at shadesofspirit.com, or you can go to like 50 different platforms that host podcasts, because we're on all of them. I like Spotify personally. So yes, I'm not going to lie. I will go back and listen to episodes on Spotify. I do. Why? Because I find my topic just that fascinating. Also, sometimes I actually need a reminder, and I will do this from time to time. I will find a podcast based on the energy I'm in to kind of give myself that pep talk, especially when we first started doing this in 2020, and like reconnect into my spiritual self. But I have someone now who she is so excited because she found me through her sister, and she's going from the very beginning of that podcast in 2020 and listening to each one of the episodes. So if you guys are new to our Transformation Talk radio show, we have been around since 2020, and then we have a break in between, and then we come back, and Spirit Walker Nicole's with us sometimes. We've got LaShawn all the time. And it's very much about us connecting into spirit. And this particular season, I like to call it, there's seasons, this is season 3, was less structured. At the beginning, we were very structured, and it would take me days, and I would have outlines and notes. And now I've got the idea of what I want, and I'll do a little outline. But today, LaShawn and I are just winging it. We're just throwing it to the angels. And we should put that up and toss that back over to you, Archangel Michael. But we are kind of talking about, because we've been asked that, I know, wasn't that the most cheesy thing you've ever seen? I know, thank you.
Only.
But people ask us, because we have like a whole new group of viewers on top of the people that have been following us now for quite some time. And even the people that have been following us for quite some time didn't quite remember what our stories were and how did we get here? When did our gift start? What were some of the trials and tribulations that we both faced when it comes down to it? And that's why we came back on today, to kind of just go back over that. We decided on break that we will take this after. So you guys, you know how LaShawn and I are so freaking good at the internet services and technical things, that we're going to go on to Shades of Spirit Live after the show at 6 to kind of do a wrap up and answer any questions, because this is a very broad topic. So you guys can join us at 6 to continue this, because there's so much content. We can't do it in an hour. But the way that we started this was getting some background from both of us. So I started seeing spirit and energies and working with them at the age of 5. 40, I was finally told that both my great grandmothers were psychics. My dad has the gift. My brother can see them. My kids have the gift. So this does run in my dad's side of the family. It does not mean that my mom's side doesn't have it. They just have different gifts, and whether they choose to open them or not. And I do find that you don't always have both sets of parents have the gift at the same time, because that becomes very spirit all around, spirit. And we need to balance. We need to have that balance. So it's usually why one side's going to take it this lifetime, and maybe next time my mom's going to want to honor her spiritual self as well. So it just depends. And then we look also is really being real and raw with this is the different ethnicity and cultural differences that we face and the struggles that go with this. We're women entrepreneurs. We're people that work with Reiki. We work with connecting loved ones to their loved ones on the other side. So yes, talking to dead people. That starts to raise eyebrows, right? But then you build in the way you were brought up in a heavily religious family, wanting to take your own life because you just had no idea. I don't want to say wanting to take your own life, maybe feeling that need, like you just, what am I doing here? What's going on around me? Not understanding your gifts. How many, kids or adults who struggle are actually connecting in that spirit realm? And I have therapist friends, and we talk about this. I just had another client referred to me by a therapist in order to help their clients, not just with the mental part of it, but also understand the spiritual and how to protect themselves and understand what's going on around them spiritually. There's so much to your story. But what really sealed it off for me was doing a numerology reading for you.
Okay.
And for those of you that don't know numerology, so cool. It's not astrology numerology. Okay, that's different. This is straight up numbers 1 through 9. We're like cats. Numbers hold vibrations, then they hold meaning, right? Just like anything else does. We go through 9 life cycles in numerology. We learn something different in each life to continue to ascend and learn the human lessons to go back in spirit and continue evolving and growing so that we can help our children and grandchildren and our communities on a spiritual level and let that ego go a bit. And one way that we do numerology is we look at your life path. And I love numerology readings because it's like it wrapped all of this up in a bow. Don't you think? For you, when we build your life path out?
Yes. So I knew what my life path number was, but I didn't know the significance of it. And actually, when you did it for me, we were just messing around that night. We had a Facebook Live and just went, you're like, did you know? And I'm like, yeah. It was like nothing because I didn't truly understand the realness of it and how it even tied in to everything, my entire life. I had no idea.
Karen Berg says,
So,
LaShawn, you have a beautiful soul. Yes, she does, Karen. Yes, she
thank
does.
you.
So I'm just going to hold up this book for all of you. Master numbers 11, 22, and 33. Love this book. If you have a master number in your life path or in one of your other sections, whether it be your soul vibration, your heart vibration, that's an ascended number. And when I added up LaShawn's, as we're literally just messing around, LaShawn was a 33/6.
Yep.
So if you are an 11, a 22, or a 33, you have a master number. When it's in your life path, it's a number that does not change. And what do you mean by that? Unless they got your birthday wrong on your birth certificate, that does not change. That's a constant. When you're working in names, addresses, countries, wherever you want to look at, those change unless you live in the same house your entire life. You have a first name like Michael and they call you Mike. What name do you normally go by? Is it usually Mike? I'm going to look at Michael, but I'm also going to look at Mike. And what is the lessons that you're learning with that particular name and that vibration? My first name is an 11. My middle name is an 11. My last name's a 33, and I'm on life path 9. So if you people think I'm going anywhere, you are absolutely wrong. And I've tested it with spirit, and I try to go back to be human. And I know that's where my knees come from. Needing 2 knee replacements at 46 is because I keep trying to go into the human world, except I've already done that. I'm there. I've done the human lessons. I know for a fact that metaphysically, because no one in my family has needed knee replacement. Now, my dad has degenerative arthritis and has had arthritis his entire life since he was 14, 15. He has to walk with a cane. He's only in his mid 70s. His discs are literally deteriorating, collapsing, cracking. He needs back surgery again, hip surgery. But the one surgery the man doesn't need? Knee surgery, people, knee surgery. And that's someone who has rheumatoid arthritis and degenerative arthritis. And I'm over here in my 40s struggling with my knees to find out that I need 2 knee replacements. Why is that? Because I constantly, as a Virgo, want to go, and take care of my family. And I use all the components to kind of give myself my own personal reading of where I need to be at. So as a 9, I'm up there with being able to spread the word, if you will, the spiritual word, as I say. And LaShawn embodies the 33. And that's also my last name. So it doesn't surprise me that her and I are working together in this capacity, because 33 is said to have been Jesus's birthday added up. And so as a 33, also we're learning the lessons of the 6, but it's magnified. And the 33 carries it's like a blessing and a burden at the same time, because you are here as healers, as prophets, as the intuitives. So I love that you don't necessarily identify as psychic, but more as an intuitive. Well, that was Jesus walking his path. And no, I'm not religious, you guys. I mean, I have my beliefs and I believe in higher powers, and I do talk to Jesus. I will talk to God. I will talk to Buddha. I'm like one of those ones that just connects into the energy that I need spiritually at that particular time. But I do believe that those that I have met with 33s, they struggle in life. Most honestly, and this is not a common number by any means. This is very uncommon to have the 33. Most of them that I've worked with have thought about taking their own life or live in such a depressed state that they aren't actually living life, but they don't understand the power that they're holding in that vibration. And I want to read this, and then I'll let you talk, LaShawn. It says, those born under master number 33 are outgoing and giving of themselves in service to others. Okay, that's number 1. How many of you watching right now are like, yeah, no, LaShawn is here giving of service. And that was even before you knew what your gifts were,
Yep.
before you knew that your mom tried to abort you twice. You were still giving of service to others. A keen sense of duty and justice underlies their conduct. Well, LaShawn is all about justice, man. You should see her at these fairs. If there's someone that is not getting treated fairly, LaShawn is the first one on the phone, finding the person. And it's not even like you have to think about it.
No.
You just are there to help and be that voice for someone else that can't be. They attempt to help reform those who indulge in harmful actions. So you're there to help others and try and help them heal and find the source of what is going on. And I'm sure you have a lot of that experience in your childhood as well, growing up where you were, grown up. They try to answer the hunger for spiritual truth and make it satisfying to the masses. That's what you're doing now. Is constantly finding the spiritual truth, which I think is why we find the paranormal so flippin' fascinating. Is because that right there is the spiritual truth. And we bring our gifts along with our equipment, and it's amazing. They strive to show this by setting an example of love and forgiveness in all their dealings. They minister, which I find an interesting word they use in this, selflessly to all who seek their aid. And I crack up because sometimes LaShawn preaches. Maybe that's that minister part of it coming out there. It's just every so often I'm like, oh, everyone back up because here she goes. She is preaching to us now, which in a good way, you guys. These individuals spend their entire lives in devoted service. How do you feel that connects with you as LaShawn?
I think that's dead on, to be honest with you. Service, I'm a hairstylist. I've been a hairstylist. I've run schools. So my service has always been to others, for sure. When I am drawn to people just out on the street, I just walk up to them and do whatever I feel like I need to do, ask them their name, have conversations, find out what their situations are. The ministry, well, I guess that's a given. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that until you and someone else told me the same day, separate incidences, that I actually do that I preach. So I never had it in me. I felt to do that, never wanted to be a preacher's wife or anything. But I guess on the flip side of that, there's a different way of doing that, and not necessarily in a church or preaching of the Bible, about the Bible and stuff like that. So it totally makes sense, because when I am passionate about something, or when I am hurting, or I'm feeling someone else's hurt, I guess it does go there, because I really want people to understand what they have available to them and what we are given in this life and what is ours to have, I think. So I don't know. Ooh, don't get me started.
She'll start to preach for us, folks. She'll start to preach.
It's passion. It is. And, I just never thought about it in that sense of preaching. It's just me talking passion. I say talking passionately. You know what I'm saying? But it's funny because, not too long ago, I did a post and I said something to the effect where it just cracks me up seeing how people underestimate me.
Well, that's what I was getting at earlier as well, is that people do underestimate you, and
I'm okay with it now, though. I used to didn't understand it, but
this
now
happens to you even before starting your own business, correct?
Yes, long before. And it was always situations where people weren't liking me or not feeling me in a certain way until I was gone. And then they realized, oh my God. I mean, like literally, I had a job. I moved from Indiana to California that wanted to create a job here just for me. And that all the people that was where I was at wanted me back. They were trying to literally get me back. And I'm just like, it's hurtful. I'm not going to lie. That aspect of it is extremely hurtful. But now I look at it and I'm just like, you guys have no idea. You have no idea until it's too late. And that's okay. but and it's only okay now for me now is because I'm more empowered, and I feel differently about myself as a person, as a human being, and as a spiritual being.
And what about the flip side of it now? Now on the spiritual side of it, we've both been faced with people who want to use that side of it, right? Use that power that we have within our gifts and the companies that we've built, and that try and come in with what seems to be good intentions, but at the same time are discrediting who you are about you. And
Yeah,
it's a very tough, like I said in the very beginning, it's a very tough place to be when trying to work with others in this field, because somebody is almost always, I'm not going to say always, but
yeah,
almost always out to use in order to gain a benefit. And that is just something that, you know, we both have learned the hard way, both in life,
right.
because I've always been someone as the giver and the fixer as well. And then adding the spiritual component of feeling, right? The empath in us, feeling the energy
Yep.
and knowing that these individuals are hurting. And I've always been of service. My background was all restaurant management. I opened restaurant, created training teams. I was the #1 training manager the entire time, in my opinion, unless Doreen's watching and you open restaurants with me. But I have to say that any staff that we chose to work there, most of them lasted at least the entire year, the first year. And it's unheard of in that industry. The
Yeah,
bar, all of them, is because we can feel the energy of those people, but also when we talk to people just in general, and we've got that kind heart and that we start giving them that energy and that ear. And yet it's hard because we become very reclusive. We start to shield our energy. There's
yeah,
days where we don't even hear from one another
right.
because we just have to close it off and shut it down,
Yep.
because giving all this energy out, even though it's the path we're supposed to walk, becomes very heavy. And I don't think people understand that part of it either, that we are in a space of being able to connect in a space of love and light,
Yeah,
which is why we're creating our paranormal group,
right.
paranormal road dash trip people. That's right. Is so that we can go into these places and empower people and give them tools and show them the activity that's going on in their house, but that it can be fun and light. Anytime we walk into a property, we are laughing, we are having
Yep,
a good time, we are bringing the vibration up, and we immediately have activity every
yep,
single time. Why is
hmm,
that?
yep,
Because we raise the vibration and we let spirit know that we're here to have fun and to interact and to connect and to hear their story. And
right.
so we're going to be doing that out there on the road. But even more fun is Wrightwood, which is coming up in October. It's the
Hmm.
20th to the 22nd.
Yes.
It's up in Wrightwood, California, which literally is like an hour and 20 minutes or so from Riverside, about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes from San Diego. Tell them all the cool things that we're going to be doing there, because what we've done is LaShawn and I have taken like everything that is like our favorite thing to do in spirit and put it
Hmm.
into a weekend of fun.
Yes, I love that. That's exactly right. Like it's gonna be an overload of fun, excitement, spirits. However, it's gonna be amazing. So with this particular event, we have nonstop stuff pretty much going on Saturday. It includes workshops after workshops. It includes archery if you choose to do that. You guys don't even understand when you are doing stuff. Okay, am I preaching again? Okay, real quick. If you do when you're doing stuff outside of just the spiritual stuff like the archery and the rock climbing walls, or you're exercising, that's also raising our vibrations as well. So we're gonna have some of that stuff happening. We're gonna break bread together. We're gonna have breakfast, lunch, and dinners on those days. Yeah, we're gonna do paranormal investigating. It also includes your stay. So it's cabins, but it's more of a glamping type of situation because each one has showers and heat. So
Which we like in the evening in October because it gets
it
chilly. We're going
gets
to
really
have
cold.
reading circles. So everyone's going to get a reading.
Yeah.
While they're at camp, we'll split up the group. So half does the workshop with LaShawn, well, half does the circle with me, and the day we're switch. We're singing bowls and our tuning forks and our shamanic drums and our raffles. Well, we might be having raffles out there.
Maybe,
as well. You never know. We've got all
yeah.
sorts of things up our sleeves. Now, we have 3 minutes left. So tell them, how do they book or how do they get a hold of you? And then what is the other option that we just opened up for Wrightwood?
Okay, so you can go to luminouspathwithlove.com. You can get your reserve your space there. It's $600 for the weekend, and that includes everything. But then we opened up where you can, if you can't make it for the entire weekend, then you could come up on Saturday for $300, and everything that we're doing for that particular day, you're able to do with us. It includes your meals as well. We're going to do a paranormal investigation that evening. So if you want to stay for that, you're more than welcome to. And then up to your humble abode or wherever you're going to go after that.
Your humble abode. And you guys, there's payment options, which that's something new. So that's what people are taking advantage of. Most people is they're taking advantage of the payment options. So you have multiple ways to take advantage of the payment options as well. So those of you that are like on the fence, come join us, come hang out with us, because this will fill up, and then we don't know. We'll hope we'll do it next year. Maybe we'll do it in a different location. Maybe we'll do a different type, but like, I can't promise that this is going to be coming back next year. We just never know what LaShawn and I are going to come up with. So there's that. And then how do they get a hold of us in the paranormal road trip? Let's start bringing that in right now.
Okay, so if you go to we're on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. So TikTok and Instagram is Paranormal Trip, all one word. You'll find us there. And if you go to Facebook, it's Paranormal Trip, Paranormal Trip is for
Trip.
Paranormal Road Trip, yes, is for Facebook. So we're just getting started, so there's not any content on there other than the Wrightwood, but we got plenty of stuff that we're going to be adding on. We don't want to overload y'all, just saying, because we got some good stuff.
We don't want you to miss anything either. So
right.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining us on our roundabout wing it type of deal, because I think we covered all sorts of different things that kind of gives us some of who we are, where we started from, and be able to let you guys relate to us a little bit more, which I think is important when we're exchanging energy, to see who you're working with as well. So you guys, don't forget, we're going to go live. I'm going to jump off here and get us going on to eCam. So we're going to go live on Shades of Spirit LLC Facebook to kind of continue this conversation and wrap it up. Thank you so much, LaShawn. It's always a pleasure with you.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you. Have you all a good evening. Oh, good. I'm glad that just came out of my mouth. So there you go. Have a good night, you guys. Thank you.
You've been listening to Shades of Spirit with me, Jaime. Tune in next time on Transformation Talk Radio as I connect you with your crossed over loved ones, angels, and guides. For more information and to book your own private experience, go to shadesofspirit.com. That's shadesofspirit.com.